G'day guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Wildkard. Thank you for being here and watching my content. As always, it is my pleasure and privilege to be wearing the Wallabies jersey. Okay? Just make that very, very clear, okay? Do not revoke my citizenship, please, Australia, okay? And yes, without further ado, let's talk about the news this week. We've got a lot to go through. So first up, very importantly, the Rugby World Rankings. The Springboks has moved ahead of France in that third place, and there is a chance that this weekend, if they beat the All Blacks, and then potentially got ahead of Ireland if the Irish somehow loses against, I think it's England again this weekend. And this is actually quite important because the pool of ultra death, that is the Pool B, the most difficult pool in the history of the Rugby World Cup. So with South Africa, Ireland, and Scotland, you could very well come down to point difference, and you could very well be very, very close. And then in an event of a tie where points and everything is the same, I think maybe the last deciding factor is the World Rugby ranking. So if South Africa ranks ahead of Ireland, and if there's a numeric draw all the way down the table, South Africa will actually go through ahead of Ireland. So it could be very important this year, especially in that Pool B. So this game against the All Blacks is already a very important match for South Africans. Unlike, the warm-up matches, even the pool match against the New Zealand in the last World Cup, where South Africa pretty much are guaranteed to get out of the pool. Not the case this year. So everything is very, very important going into the Rugby World Cup for South Africans. And I think this is going to be an absolutely huge game for both teams with the All Blacks and the Springboks. Next up, we've got, the plot thickens. The story finally plays out itself. Owen Farrell had his red card rescinded last week, and then the rescind was rescinded by World Rugby after obviously huge backlash to this decision. Obviously, we talked about what happened in the initial referee decision. They decided that the ball carrier changed directions, which wasn't really the case because Jamie George shoved him a tiny bit, and as a result, that led to Owen Farrell putting a shoulder charge on him. And they thought that was enough to mitigate this down to a yellow card. Obviously, with the crooks from Australia and wanting to, get their citizenship back in UK, they decided that Owen Farrell was cleared to play. And this was, met with a lot of outrage. There was a lot of talks. The Owen Farrell's dad came out and reacted to it. Everybody was discussing this. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting is that there were some discussions about how rich nations like England can afford lawyers, high quality lawyers going into these decisions, which sway the decisions of the judiciary. And Sir Woodward came out and claimed credit on that. Actually, he basically came out saying that the lawyer that was present for Owen Farrell's hearing, Richard Smith, is the one that he hired in 2002. So 21 years, England still has him as a lawyer, which helped Owen's case in getting him rescinded. But we're all here to hear the news. So yeah, obviously there was a lot of backlash. Nigel Owens made a very clear statement about how this is completely wrong decision by World Rugby, and there was basically no arm involved, and the World Rugby eventually. So yeah, World Rugby eventually decided to appeal, and good news to everyone, the joy for everyone, Owen Farrell will be missing out 4 test matches, including 2 Rugby World Cup pool match, and the new decision was the fact that it was a shoulder charge. He didn't wrap his arms, and with that, shoulder charge being reconsidered, the change of directions that was decided by the previous committee becomes a void. And therefore, he's going to get 4 matches. Still, I thought it would be like 6 matches, to be honest, instead of 4 for a shoulder charge. Like, it's still quite soft, but, still, at least there's some justice being served. They considered that was always illegal. Considering the Tongan guy, there was a Tonga player, dropped the player on his side. Yes, it was dangerous. He got, 10 weeks or something. Shoulder charge to the head, surely is bit more than 4. I felt like it's again just the inequalities in rugby world. The players that can the teams that can get good lawyers will have a better result. The big teams also get a better result, just the fact that they're more influential in the World Rugby as well. So Owen Farrell already missed out the Irish game, so they're going to be missing out Fiji this weekend. and then he's gonna be missing the very crucial opening match against Argentina and then Japan. So the two basically elimination match for England is at the start of the tournament. So Owen Farrell won't be involved in that. That's gonna be a big issue for him. Obviously, his dad was asked the question in his interview, basically saying that it was very what did he say? Disgusting the way they were talking about his son. I mean, I can understand that. I mean, it's his son. Every dad will be a bit sympathetic towards his own blood. That's understandable. Razzie Erasmus has laid on his opinion about Farrell's reactions, saying that he's handled it quite well. It is quite difficult for him to be talking about his own son that plays for for the opposition essentially. So yeah, now we're all here talking about the most important news today for the most of you. It's the Springboks selection. So the Springboks has obviously going up against the All Blacks this weekend. So there's a couple of things that the Springboks is really important for the Springboks. Like I've mentioned, they've got Scotland in the opening match, which is an elimination match, by the way. If they lose to Scotland, very unlikely to make out the pool anymore if you lose that opening match. So it's really important for the Springboks to go in with momentum and with confidence to execute the game plan to beat Scotland. So they obviously made a bit of a shuffling in their team from last week, polished up some of the combinations a little bit, and really I think this is an important match for the Springboks to get that momentum, to get that win. And obviously the goal kicking is still an issue. Manny Lebok will be getting more kicking practices this game against the All Blacks. I'll have no doubt probably they will go for the penalties every opportunities that is given to them. But yeah, let's go through the team and see who's selected for this monumental match in Twickenham. First up, we've got Kitsov coming in at number 1. Malcolm Marks comes up from the hooker position. Oh no, I think he stays at hooker position in the number 2 jersey. He has scored 16 tries in his career so far. So if he scores another one this week, he will be the highest try scorer in South African history for a forward. And then we've got Frans Malherbe in the tight head position. This is a really big challenge for the New Zealand front rowers, because these three front rowers, I think at the moment are the best in the world. So this will be a good test for New Zealand as well. Eben Nesbitt returns to the number 4 jersey. Franco Mustard also comes in at number 5. The locks from last week, John Klein and Archie Snyman gets moved to the bench. Sia Khaleesi, after his return last week, showed the first touch of his game last weekend, set up a try for his teammate, and yeah, showing that he still got it. He will be captaining the team at number 6 jersey, and yeah, it was really good to see him that he returned without any issues. Number 7, Peterson du Toit gets caught in from the bench from last week. I think was on the bench, or was he starting last week? I think he was starting last week. Dwayne Vermeulen definitely was on the bench last week, gets caught up to the number 8 jersey. Faf de Klerk gets added into the team at number 9 jersey. It was left out of the squad last week. Manny Lebok retains number 10 jersey. So with Faf de Klerk in the team, he could potentially be the goal kicking if everything isn't going so well for Manny Lebok. I don't think the management would put Faf as a goal kicker this weekend. But in the Rugby World Cup, should things get really hairy and dicey, they might get Faf to do the kicking. But this weekend, no matter how bad things get, Manny Lebok will still be the goal kicker just for the practice. Number 11, Makuzolo Mapimpe comes in for the Springboks. He has been left out of the squad, so he will be coming in at number 11 jersey. And number 12, Andre Esterhuizen gets caught in ahead of Damien Dialenda. I thought Esterhuizen has been more physical and a bit more physical and a bit more dominant in his play performance recently over Dialendi. So it's good to see him get that number 12 jersey once again. And this is a very interesting decision here. Kanan Moody gets that number 13 jersey for the Springboks. This kind of tells me that the Springboks would like to play probably a bit more kicking game with a bit more space. With essentially 3 wingers on the field. They, ironically, Jesse Krill is probably a better winger than he is at the center. And also Lukamio Arm, believe it or not, probably plays a very well winger as well. We've seen him play winger against the All Blacks last year. So interestingly, that it's not too surprising to me that they've decided to put another winger at number 13. But it's a little bit surprising that they're going with Kanan Moody, considering how good he was on the wing last week with a bit of a space, really giving the Welsh a lot of trouble. So at number 13, I'm not sure how he's going to go there. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see But it's not really too crazy to have another winger in out of 13 for the Springboks. Like I said, they pretty much do that anyway with Lukanyum and Jesse Krill. And then with number 14 jersey, Kurti Adensa comes back to the fold. Someone that been dying to see every time he's selected. He's absolutely spectacular. And Damien Willemse, the greatest Springbok in the history of the Springbok, comes in at number 15 jersey ahead of Wallaroos. This will be a time for him to show that he potentially has the talent to start for the Springboks, the number 15, because Wallaroos has really been taking that role, exceptionally well for the Springboks. In the reserves, we got Bungi Mbunabi comes in number 16, Ox Uncha number 17, and Trevor Inyakani number 18. The big forward pack off the bench. Interestingly, the Springboks reserve front rowers are actually quite a bit shorter than the starting front rowers. Kitsov, Malcolm X, and Matt Herbert are all like 180 centimeters, 180 plus, so like 182 to 185, and whereas the reserves are about 175 to 178, so quite a bit, about 10 centimeters shorter. So having a low center of gravity will probably give the scrum a bit more stability in the second half, believe it or not, and it's going to be extremely difficult to deal with, especially if the All Blacks put on their big tall props like Tamaki Williams, who's extremely tall, like 190 something. Which the shorter front rowers for the Springboks will probably play a huge advantage in the second half. The All Blacks haven't announced their selections yet, so we'll have to see. But yeah, it is definitely something that I think the Springboks are planning ahead to deal with. That the height advantage for them in the second half. John Klein and Achi Snyman returns to the bench for the Springboks, and we got Marco van Staden also drops down to the bench, and then we got Cobus Reiner comes in number 22, and Wallaroos gets a bit of a break off that number 23 jersey coming off the bench for the Springboks. Again, the 2-6 setup on the bench, 6 forwards, 2 backs for the Springboks, looking to finish the game in strength with their forward pack dominance. The All Blacks has already confirmed they're going to pick a strong team against the Springboks. Obviously, the All Blacks, similar to their setup, having similar to the Springboks having their most difficult game, one of the most difficult. The All Blacks actually have the most difficult game in the opening test match against the France, and it is basically do or die. The All Blacks needs to win that one to get out of the pool at the number 1 premier spot, and that could be the difference playing against a fully fledged Springbok team in the quarterfinals, or playing against potentially Scotland or something in the run-on-up position it could be a big difference to who they play in the quarterfinal stage. So the All Blacks will be looking at building momentum as well, especially the All Blacks haven't really played many rugby for quite a few weeks now, so I would not be surprised if they pick a very strong team just to get that momentum, just to get the rust out of the system, get that needed confidence going into against the French in the opening round. Big loss for the All Blacks as well. Shannon Frizzell will be out for a while due to a bit of a hamstring injury, and Shannon Frizzell is the number 6 jersey, and this they say the bread always falls with the butter side down, and Shannon Frizzell, obviously the biggest Achilles heel for the All Blacks, one of the biggest Achilles heel nightmares from 2019 Rugby World Cup is not having a specialized 6, putting Scotty Barrett at 6 in 2019 Rugby World Cup, losing to England. A lot of people felt that he was kind of like too slow in that match in the 6 jersey, and again, this is with Shannon Frizzell has been filling that 6 jersey very, very exceptionally well for the All Blacks. And again, are they going to resort to Scotty Barrett 6 again, or maybe they're going to call up someone else? But yeah, it is a very, again, another one of those things where everything kind of like your biggest fears coming to haunt you as the big stage approaches for the team. So yes, the Wallabies. We're gonna have to talk about the Wallabies. The Wallabies has one of the weirdest week this week. So first up, the attack coach has stepped down. He has walked away from the Wallabies campaign due to personal issues, and the Brad Davis. So they was looking quite bad. Not sure what's going on in the rugby in the Wallabies camp. And Eddie Jones spoke about this in his departing airport interview with the media. This was one of the craziest media scrums I've ever seen. He basically, the media and him were basically at heads. There were some interesting points that came out of this this interview. The first point is obviously with the departing of the coach, and you can tell Eddie Jones was very upset by his attacking coach leaving. Right, Brad Davis. He was very upset. You can tell that when asked about it, he was getting a bit emotional, very defensive, and basically he said, "We've got someone better coming in," and everybody's just like, "Who is it gonna be? Tell us who it's gonna be, Eddie. Tell us." And he's, "Oh, not gonna name it." Everyone's just like, "Yeah, Eddie Jones, talking shit out of his ass again." And then Eddie Jones goes, "We're gonna someone coming in that's better." Everyone's like, "Yeah, better." And then people ask, "Is it gonna be the one of the former Brumbies coach? What was his name? I think it was one of the former Brumbies coach under Dave Rooney. They're like, "Is he gonna come in?" And Eddie Jones is like, "No, he's not available." And they're just like, "So who's it gonna be? Who's it gonna be?" Everyone's striking their head and thinking Eddie Jones is just talking shit. And Eddie Jones wouldn't give a name, wouldn't tell anyone who it is. And Eddie Jones has announced that Jason Ryles, okay, in case you don't know who this guy is, this guy's been on the news quite a lot recently, because especially if you watch Rugby League, he is being in a position to take over a prominent position in Rugby League. He's basically one of the most highly sought coaches at the moment. He was working with Eddie Jones before the pandemic. He was called into Sydney Roosters as an assistant coach, and whilst being an assistant coach, he's been basically poaching around, potentially getting a head coach roles around the park. So there was one that he talked about with the Dragons. The Dragons apparently offered him 3.2 million, but hey, who wants to go to the Dragons? The Dragons are pretty horrendous. And then there was also talks that Craig Bellamy from the Melbourne Storm was going to retire this year. There was some talks that he wasn't retire, and there was some potential that he was going to take over Bellamy at the Storm. So that was a quite big call there. But eventually Bellamy decided not to retire. So he has apparently signed a deal with the Storm next year. And apparently at the moment, he's been called into the Wallabies setup for the Rugby World Cup as assistant attack coach. So he's quite a highly sought after coach at the moment. And Eddie Jones has delivered on his promise that he's going to bring in someone better, someone more experienced to fill in the role. And he has done it. And then he just put the cherry on the top. He has called in Sir Steve Hansen to consult with the Wallabies for 3 or 4 days, and to really look at the youngsters, to see how the some key areas like the training quality, to look at the way to improve, and to look at the leadership of the teams. With the young team, the leadership is quite a big issue, and he also training quality is quite interesting. It's basically like Hansen criticizing him and criticizing Eddie Jones at his own job, which is something that I think not a lot of people do that. No one wants to bring in someone to tell them they're doing a terrible job. Eddie Jones has the balls to do that, and which is quite important. And so he just put the cherry on top and really triggered a whole nation of people in New Zealand. There was some talks about, literally, okay, I could not believe this. The New Zealanders were so upset. Their Prime Minister, Chris Hopkins, said they should cancel his citizenship, okay, in a joke. But yeah, now you guys know why, okay? I can't wear certain jerseys at certain times of the year because I don't want to lose my citizenship, okay? I don't want to get deported, okay? So it's not a joke, okay? The Prime Minister says you're going to take over your citizenship and next minute you're gone, right? But yeah, so there was a bit of a joke come out of New Zealand that they didn't like this, but Steve Hansen thinks that rugby, he's passionate about rugby and he wants to work with rugby. He wants to be in that environment, and sure enough, he's getting a shot at Eddie Jones. So yeah, Eddie Jones came out and just really smack all the journalists on there. So yeah, before moving on, so the interview with Eddie Jones, there was another part that was really kind of interesting, to say the least. So he was accused that not telling the players that they were dropped before the team announcement. Essentially, they were saying that Quade Cooper wasn't answering Eddie's phone calls. And the accusation levied against Eddie Jones is obviously, why didn't you tell Quade and Michael Hooper that they were going to get dropped before the team announcement? And Eddie Jones basically skirted around the question a little bit.
he basically saying that Quay didn't answer his phone call. But I mean, why would he not answer your phone call, Eddie? If you didn't announce the team before you try to call him, why would he not answer your phone call, right? The only reason he's not answering the phone call is because you announced the team without telling him that he wasn't selected. That's why he's not answering. But Eddie Jones was saying that that he tried to call him and Quay wasn't responding, and there was some accusations that Michael Hooper had to call up the management himself to find out that he wasn't selected. So there was a bit of poor management there levied against Eddie Jones as well. So Eddie Jones finished the interview extremely upset, saying that this is very negative. He's saying that, you guys are giving yourself uppercuts, and then basically saying that the negativity of the media is keeping Australian rugby down. But I think Eddie Jones has won this one by bringing in Jason Ryles and Steve Hansen for the Wallabies. So Eddie Jones, well done, mate. And obviously the Australian women Wallaroos are not happy with the Wallabies send-off. Apparently the WAGs, the wives and girlfriends of the Wallabies teammates, were getting better treatments with the send-off than the girls team, the Wallaroos, which is really sad. Like, the Wallaroos has a flight economy class to play in Canada, whereas the girlfriends of the Wallabies gets to sit in first class, I guess. So the girls are not happy, telling the Rugby Australia they need to put more team. And what's really upsetting the girls is that despite Rugby Australia flashing all the money around, hiring Joseph Swali for unprecedented $4.8 million, right? More money than ever before, despite having so much money to splash around. Apparently there's not enough to make the Wallaroos full-time professional players. Yeah. Yeah, not enough money, girls. Sorry. You gotta go part-time. Go back and work in your coffee shop and come back play on a Saturday, eh? That's Rugby Australia for you guys. So the girls are not happy, and I completely agree. What a bunch of... Yeah, anyway. It's actually quite upsetting just thinking about it. So TMO Bunker has been confirmed for the Rugby World Cup, which is quite good. They get an opportunity to take that burden off the referee on field, which is really, really, really good. Obviously the referees has been announced for the pool stage, has been finalized. The good news for the Springboks, I guess, out of all the referee selections, your first match against Scotland will be with Angus Gardner from Australia, which has been, the record with Angus Gardner and the Springboks has been quite good. And with that match, it's really an important match for the team. So just look at some of the key ones. Jaco Piper against France will be the big one for New Zealand. And obviously, the South Africa, Angus Gardner against Scotland is a big one. And they've got the biggest one at the end is Ireland. So Ben O'Keefe against Ireland, that's going to be a huge one as well. Ben O'Keefe is the best referee in New Zealand, and he might be sometimes a bit more. He did that Lions tour third test. Okay, second test, I think it was. Second test, so after obviously Nick Berry got criticized by Rassie Erasmus, Ben O'Keefe came in and did a pretty good job in that second test for the Lions tour. So he's the one that's going to be looking up Ireland. So that's the key games for the Springboks. You got two really good referees in Gardner and O'Keefe. And then we've got the Irish has obviously Nick Berry against Scotland in that elimination match. So this could be a big one. Nick Berry has been getting a lot better, so I'm not too worried about him. He's been working overseas a lot, especially in Six Nations and in France. So he's going to be just fine. So let's go to the Pool C. Australia versus Fiji. Andrew Brace. Oh man, that's gonna be a bit of a headache. I mean, Andrew Brace. I'm not worried. I think Andrew Brace will definitely favor Australia, and he would be. I really hope this game is not gonna get ruined because of a yellow card or red card to Fiji, because Andrew Brace has a bit of a history of giving out yellow and red cards to Tier 2 nations. Let's just put it that way. The Barnsley versus Ryles, that is a great game, great referee, good selections. So I'm not too worried about that. So this is one that I think everybody's a little bit worried about. And we've got the other one, obviously, Fiji versus Wales, the first game opening match. Matthew Carley from the RFU, again, another really bad one for Fiji. Again, this Matthew Carley would definitely blow the whistle for the direction of Wales, and yeah, these are bad selections for Fiji, and both these referees will favor Welsh. Not gonna lie, that's just the fact. They have a history. Both referees have a history of quite tough against tier 2 nations. England, Matthew Renal against Argentina. Good luck with that. And he's got Nika Ashumekeli against Japan. That's pretty good call as well for both the teams. And obviously Japan, Argentina. We've got Japan, Argentina with Ben O'Keefe. So that's a pretty good selection there for that big elimination match. So some interesting selections. There's some good selections there. So Ireland has confirmed the replacement for Dan Sheehan. The team hasn't been selected. They're going to announce their team on 28th, the Irish team. And Dan Sheehan apparently lost his strength on his foot on the weekend. So he's going to be heavily monitored. And at the moment, Diarmuid Barron has been called in, an uncapped hooker for Sheehan. And Ireland really needs Sheehan to be healthy because they're running out of hookers. Kieran Crowley has named the Italian team. I'm not going to go through. It's already 26 minutes in the game. You can go have a look at it yourself for this lineup. And the big one that I want to talk about is the French team has been announced. With obviously they had some injury issues here and there, but they have pulled through with some of the key players still good. So Sirabai is one of the players that had a bit of a niggle when Ntamack got injured, so he will be okay to play. So Sirabai, Jean-Baptiste Gros for the Lucia Prop, and Red Alvadi for the French. Obviously, Demba Bamba is not selected in any of the propositions. Dorian Aldeheri comes in at tight head position. Uni Antonio, Sepili, Falatea finished off the tight head position for the French. So yeah, Demba Bamba is not selected. In the hooker, Pierre Bogat, Julien Marchand, and Peto Mavaka finishes off with the hooker positions for the really strong, like both starting and reserve hookers. Julien Marchand and Peto Mavaka comes in for the French. In the locking positions, Thibaut Flament, Ramo, Taufefe Noah. Haven't seen him for a couple games now. He's going to be coming off the bench as a finisher. Paul Willems, Cameron Wilkie. Very, very strong locking combinations for the French. Even the bench are super world class. Back rowers, we got Gregor Aldridge, Paul Boldent, Franco Kroc, Anthony Gerlock, and Siku Makolo. We saw him score a try on the weekend. And Charles Olovon, the former captain. Scrum halves, we got Baptiste Couillou, Antoine Dupont, who will be the captain, and Maxime Luku will be the third option. That's a huge, like, Couillou is actually, many think that he's, one of the best scrum halves in the world, but he lives in the shadow of Antoine Dupont. We've got Anthony Hastry in fly half, and Matthew Jalibert, who's also incredibly good for French at a fly half position. Jalibert. So with Ntamack injured, obviously I think the fly half is still not going to be an issue with Jalibert in charge, and also with the French team. I've talked about this before. A lot of the playmaking comes out of the 9 position anyway. So Antoine Dupont will be the primary playmaker. They also have the fullback position to do playmaking as well. So missing Ntamack, it really doesn't hurt the French that much at all. In center position, we got the veterans Jonathan Donty and Gao Fuku. We got Roman Moefana, a newer guy who's also like a utility guy. Moefana can play winger. I think he can play fullback as well. He's quite a versatile player. And Arthur Vincent will come in for the 4th option for the center. A winger position, we've got Luis Bele Biari. And then we've got Damien Pennold. God, I hate this guy. He's so damn good, Damien Pennold. He's missing some teeth from teeth. From tooth, is it tooth or teeth? Anyway, he's giving me a lot of nightmares over the years. And we got obviously Gabin Villiers comes back for the winger position as well. And also, I'm pretty sure Matthew Jalibert can play wing as well. Fullback position, we got Melvin Javanay, obviously returning last week, and he showed that his goal kicking is absolutely world class still. And also, Javanay is a great playmaker. Last week, he did most of the playmaking. Last week, coming from the 15 position, and the final player is the believe it or not, Thomas Ramos is a better fullback than Jaminay, has slightly better kicking game, and I think slightly better kicking percentage as well. Despite Jaminay is already at 90%, Ramos is higher than that. So insane fullback combinations for the French. And yeah, that's the French 23. Huge selections. And let's move on. The Welsh had announced their squad as well. You can go have a look at it yourself. I'm not going to go through that. 13 casualties from the Welsh team. But yeah, it is. Let's just move on. And also we've got announcement for the Tongan team as well. The Israel Farrell misses out due to a knee injury. But that is a huge loss for the Tongan team. I really wanted to see Israel Farrell play for Tonga in the Rugby World Cup, but that's really sad. You can go have a look at the list yourself if you're interested. And finally, Billy Vunipola will have a hearing for his red card received on the weekend. And Jamie Joseph makes 4 World Cup changes to his World Cup team. James Moore has been dropped due to conditioning issues. Awu Helu gets caught in. Warren Derns gets caught in. And Amanaki Sawumaki gets caught in. And finally, what's his name? Peter. I think his first name is Peter. Peter Labu Chachni. I think that's how you say his last name. Peter Labu Chachni gets caught in. He's suspended, so he won't be playing like maybe the opening couple matches. But he's being added to the team following his red card. So yeah, that's the news for today, guys. I might do another video if you want for the teams list for the Wales, for the teams that I didn't talk about, the lineup. But yeah, this is running a bit too long. I don't want to go to like a 40-minute video. So yeah, thanks guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on any of the news this week. And I'll see you guys later this week for the previews between the All Blacks and the Springboks. And I might do some commentary for Springboks versus the All Blacks. Actually, I will do some commentary for the Springboks with the All Blacks. So if you want to see that, that'll be live here on this YouTube channel. So if you want to come see that, feel free to tune in. There will be a bit of delay. I don't know how that's going to work, but I've tested it out before. There'll be a bit of a delay, but yeah, you just have to we'll work through it, but there will be some commentary there. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys later this week for the previews. Cheers.